In the previous videos, we have been generating our GUI code by typing in the codes manually into our script file. Henceforth, from this video, I'm going to introduce you to a tool called wxFormBuilder. It is a rapid application development tool that you can use to generate GUI interface quickly. So there are other RAD tools for wxPython, such as Visual WX, Boa Constructor, etc., as you can see on this page. So in order to get a copy of the wxFormBuilder, if you have not done so already, just carry out a simple Google search and then go to the SourceForge URL or the GitHub URL to download the latest version of the software. You can download the latest version from the GitHub page here. For Windows, you download this. For Linux, you download this. So after downloading and installing wxFormBuilder, when you launch it, this is the interface of your project. So before we start designing our frame, let me quickly tell you that other libraries for GUI in Python also have RAD tools, such as for TkInter we have this Pygubu and the visual TkInter. For PySide or PyQt, we have the Qt designer. For IronPython, we have the Visual Studio or SharpDevelop. And also for Kivy, we have a Kivy designer. So if you're interested in any of these libraries for your GUI, you can simply Google any of these RAD tools to enhance or to speed up your GUI design. So in this video series, we are using wxPython. So one of the best RAD tools for designing GUI for wxPython is the wxFormBuilder. And wxFormBuilder is used to generate codes not only for wxPython but also for C++, PHP, Lua, and XRC, which is a XML resource file. So our focus here in this video series is generating wxPython code. So in order to start using form designer, wxForm designer, there are basics approaches you need to follow. And here are the 5 basic steps. So the first step when you launch the program is to set the properties. You set the properties, the project name, the path, the file, and the code generation. So let me show you how to go about the first step. If you launch your software, of course you will need to save. So here I'm going to save it on my desktop inside my project folder. So I will name it test123, or you can name it whatever name you want to give your project. So here I've decided to use test123 just for demonstration sake. So click on save. Then you need to set the project properties. The most important project properties you need to set are the project name, the path, the file, and then the code generation. So let's see how to go about them. So the project name is here. You can set the project name or you can leave it on the default name. So if you want to change the name, I can change it to test123. That is my project name. Then the path, as you can see, the project name has changed here. So the path, you can leave it on default option, or you can set the path by clicking on this button. The path is where you are going to save the generated code. So later on I will talk more about the path. For now I will just set it on the default option. I will cancel and leave it on relative path with this dot. Then the next settings you need to do is the file. The file is the name of the file for the script that will be generated. So here I'm going to call it test underscore GUI. Then the next setting we need to do is the code generation. So here by default it's set to C++. So you need to uncheck C++ and set it to Python, which is wxPython. So now we have done with the first step. We have set the project name, the path where the generated file will be saved, the file name, and then the code generation, which is Python. So this part, since we didn't set it, since we didn't specify any particular folder here, it means the generated code will be saved into our project folder, which is located on our desktop here. So now the next step we need to do is add a frame. So for every wxFormBuilder, you need to add a frame, and a frame is just this. This interface you are seeing is called a frame. The whole of this interface, and it is on the frame that we have the menus bar, the title bar, where you have the minimize, maximize, and close button, the tools bar, and every other interface. The buttons you are seeing here, the grids here, everything you are seeing here is based on the frame. So you need to add a frame. So to add a frame, under the designer, you go to the forms tab. So from forms tab you can add a frame, or you can add a dialog. So everything you are seeing in a GUI is laid down on a frame or on a dialog. So the difference between a frame and a dialog is just that a frame has more features, or has more controls over a dialog. For example, a dialog doesn't have these two, doesn't have minimize or maximize button. It only has the close button. So this interface you are seeing is an example of a frame. Let me show you an example of a dialog. If you go to the help, about, so this is a typical example of a dialog. It only has just the close button, no minimize, no maximize. So in most cases you are going to be using a frame, but if your application needs to use a dialog, you can use the dialog. So in essence, what I'm saying is that for you to design an interface, GUI interface, you must have a frame or a dialog to base your controls or widgets on them. So now click on frame. So here's our first frame. You can do all sorts of things to the frame. For example, you can add the title bar, the title on the title bar. You can resize the frame. This is for the title bar. This is the name of the frame. This is the title bar. You can set different styles for the frame. You can adjust the size of the frame, and so many other things you can think of. So for size, the current size is, the width is 500, the height is 300. So you can adjust the size to your taste. You can change the background of the frame and so many other things. But this is just a test, so I'm going to leave the default settings. So the next step after adding a frame or a dialog, you need to add a sizer. So unlike other RAD GUI programs or tools, wxPython is based on what is known as sizer, and you can locate different sizers under the layout tab. So the general sizer is the wx box sizer. So there are other formats, other shapes, or other kinds of sizer you can use. For example, we have the static box sizer, the grid sizer, the flex grid sizer, the grid back sizer. So all these are different kind of sizer, but you can achieve any of these kind of sizer using the general or the generic sizer, which is known as the box sizer. So you must add a sizer before you can add your form element or your controls or widgets on your frame. So without the sizer, you can't add a button or a text area or a text box or a combo button or a select box on your frame. So you must always add a sizer for you to be able to add controls on your frame. So that is one confusing aspect of wxFormBuilder. It is not like other RAD tools where you can just drag and drop your form element. Here everything is based, or everything is inserted in a sizer. So let's add the box sizer, which is a generic box sizer. So this is box sizer. So with the box sizer added, which is step 3, then step 2 is to add the elements or widgets or what is known as controls. So the common controls or widgets are found under the common tab. So here you can add buttons, bitmap buttons, text area, static text, combo box, select, list, checkboxes, radio buttons, and so on and so forth. So to add a button, you click button. To add a text area, you click text area. To add text control, click text control. So this is how to go about adding your form element or controls. Then the next stage or step is to generate the code. So after adding your elements, later on we are going to talk more about enhancing the elements, but at this point I will show you how to generate the code. So the last step is to generate your code. So depending on the complexity of the application, you will spend most of the time on step 3, 4, 5, or in most cases step 3 and 4. So this is where you spend most of the time, and after which you can generate the code. So let's assume that we are satisfied with this GUI. So we need to generate the code. So you need to save your file, and remember that we saved it in this location. So now to generate the code for this GUI, all you need to do is to click on this button, generate code. So when you click on the button generate code, the code will be generated, and if you check your project file, you see that the code has been generated with the name test GUI in this same location where we saved our project file. So this test GUI is coming from step 1 here, where we set the file name. So if you click on the layout on the object tree, the project tree, you see that the path where the generated file is saved is the relative path, which is this dot, and it means it's saving it in the same directory or the same location where our project file is saved. Then the file name test GUI for the generated code is here. Test GUI is coming from this file name we set in our first step. Then the Python file that was generated here is actually coming from code generation option that we selected Python here. So if you have selected C++ or any of these languages, the generated file will be in those languages. So here we have our generated code. So in order to run the generated code, I'm going to open it in my text editor. In this case, I'm using Sublime Text. So right click on it and then open with Sublime Text. So here we have our file open in Sublime Text. As it is, if you run the file, it doesn't do anything. That is because it only generated our frame, which is the code that is here, without initializing or executing the file. So if you remember from the previous video, in order for us to execute or run a wxPython GUI script, we need to add a minimum code down below, and the minimum code we need to add can be as simple as this. App, we define the wx app, then we define the frame, then we show the frame, and then we execute the main loop. We call main loop method on the application. So here is what you need to take note of. Frame here is called my frame1, which is the name of the class, my frame1, and it is coming from this frame1, my frame1, for the, which is the name of the frame we added initially. You can change the name. Whatever name you change here will be the name of the class. So that is where my frame class is coming from. So after adding this minimum code to run the script, you can go to projects, go to tools, and then build the project using the build system, Ctrl B on your keyboard to execute the script. So here is our first, or the simple GUI we added in our wxFormBuilder. So this is how to execute or launch the script we generated using wxFormBuilder. Or alternatively, if you are not using Sublime Text, you can always execute the file after adding this minimum code here by opening command window, shift right click, open command window here. Then you can now type in Python, then the name of the file, test.gui.py, and it will launch the script for you just like that. So remember that you need to install wxPython, or else this won't work on your machine. Basically, that is how to create a simple wxFormBuilder project. In the next part of the video, we are going to create a simple application like this, where we are going to have the title bar with the title on it, with even an icon on it, and then we'll have the menu bar with different menu options, and then we'll have a text area here, then we'll have a text or drop down list of text, which is usually known as combo box, where you can select different text, and then you have buttons at the bottom. When you click, different thing happens. For example, if I click on print, it will print the selected text here, hello Africa, If I change the text to world, print hello world. If I change the text to Nigeria, print hello Nigeria. If I click on reset to say hello, whatever I selected, hello Africa, hello America, and things like that. If I click on exit, it will quit the application. So in the next video, we are going to see how to create that application. In the meantime, you can visit this URL to download more exercises and solution to the exercises related to this video. Till then, have a nice day.